to start. We get the cue from the moderator.
Okay,
If the moderator
okay, thank you, Dr. Tamiza. Actually, it's depend to the moderator. If moderator want to start now, we can start. I think it's okay. Okay.
Yep.
So can we have the moderator, Dr. How?
Yes, yes.
Okay, maybe the moderator can switch on the camera and then we can start the sharing. Dr. Mizi, is it we have any countdown for before we start about 1 minute or we can start now? Kita mula.
Okay, we can start now, is it?
Sure, you can start now.
Okay, can start.
Okay, we start now.
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon to ladies and gentlemen.
Can we have the moderator, Dr. How?
Yes, yes.
Okay, maybe the moderator can.
Okay, we start now. Okay, good afternoon to ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this webinar that focus on tips and tricks to get your paper published in high impact journals. I am Dr. Goh, okay, from University Tunku Abdul Rahman and a moderator for this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank the Center for Economic Studies from the University Tunku Abdul Rahman and University Technology Mara UITM from Terengganu in joining conducting this webinar. The aim of this webinar is to share applications, tips, and research knowledge. In order to achieve the aims, this webinar will provide the sharing about the tips and tricks on how to write a world-class research paper and to provide guidelines on how to publish in a well-reputable journals with high impact factors. Apart from this, we believe that this webinar will be a great platform for both universities to share their knowledge and expertise. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Ao Yong Hui, Dean of Faculty of Business and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, to deliver her welcome speech. Dr. Ayong, I cannot hear you. Dr. Ayong, I cannot hear your voice.
Mr. Nick Fakro Hassan. Nick Hassan.
I can hear you.
Head for the Faculty of Business and Finance, Business and Management, University Technology Mara, Terengganu branch. Dr. Haji Zainuddin Zakaria, guest speaker from UITM Terengganu branch. Associate Professor Dr. Abdahak Senaji, guest speaker, Faculty of Business and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Utah. Dr. Goh Yo Hao, moderator from FBF, Utah. Dr. Vikeswari Vijay Kumaran, chairperson, Center for Economic Studies, Utah. Researchers and students. Salam sejahtera and good afternoon. The Center for Economic Studies, Faculty of Business and Finance, FBF, would like to welcome you to the webinar on the tips and tricks to get your paper published in high-impact journals. The world economy is experiencing more challenging times with market uncertainties, especially in post-COVID-19 recovery. The global trade is also attracting emerging regional trade agreements, RTA, namely Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. These processes are clearly interrelated, for globalization would make little sense if it did not involve conciliation of international trade, digital interchange, and environmental problems. This illustrates just a few of the many significant challenges to the society in defining the things which should be understood towards realization of the goals of the 12th Malaysian Plan and 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The purpose of research is to think critically in order to enhance the society by advancing knowledge through the development of scientific theories, concepts, and ideas, and to find solutions to real problems. Upon completion of the research projects, it is when researchers and postgraduate students prepare for knowledge transfer, write research articles, identify suitable academic journals, and submit the articles for publication. I would like to extend my appreciation to the CES chairperson, Dr. Venishwari Vijaykumaran, co-organizer, Writing and Publishing Unit, WPU, UC Technology Mara, Terengganu branch, and committee members for making this webinar a rarity. Your enthusiasm and time enable us to prepare the high-quality program. I believe that all participants will find it stimulating in this webinar. My special thanks to the speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Adahak Senaski, Dr. Haji Zainuddin Zakaria, and moderator Dr. Goh Yu Hao for your valuable and insightful sharing and support to the webinar in providing the tips and tricks to publish papers in high-impact journals. Once again, I hope all of you will have an effective and fruitful session. Thank you.
Thanks for Dr. Ayong for a wonderful speech. Now I would like to invite Mr. Nid Faruhari Nid Hassam, Head for the Faculty of Business and Management, UITM Terengganu, to deliver his speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To our Rector, Professor Terminologies, Dr. Mazidah Putih, our Deputy Dean, our Deputy Rector Academic, Professor Madya Technology, Dr. Sharifah Fauziah binti Said Rahman, Professor Madya Technologies, Dr. Ilmi Abdul Qadir, our Deputy Rector Hak Ehwal Pelajar, our Deputy Rector PJI, Dr. Rosman Mahmud, to Dr. Au Yung Hee Ni, Dean of the UTA from Faculty of Business Management, to Coordinator of the Diploma Program, Puan Zuraidah Muhammad, and also to the Coordinator of the Degree Program, Dr. Wan Asri Wan Abdul Aziz, to the Moderator, and also speaker that we have for today, to my fellowship, to all my fellow friends, lecturers from the Faculty of the Business Management. Warm welcome to all the lecturers of the UTA and also to all the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us for today. In my first speech, after all, I would like to convey my appreciation to this hardworking organizing community for working tirelessly making this program a reality. My special thanks go to the Dr. Khairi for leading the community, and I sincerely thanks and acknowledge every one of you in this community who are attenders help to us for making this event a grand success. I would like to also to convey my appreciation to Professor Dr. Mazida Putih, our rector, and Dr. Rosman Mahmud, Deputy Rector PJI, for giving us a full support, guidance, and also trust in organizing this program. On behalf of the faculty members, I would like to express my deep gratitude to UTA for this collaborations opportunity that enable us to share knowledge regarding the tips and tricks for writing and publishing. We are hopefully that this cooperation we are provide the right tips and guidance for us to write a quality paper for accepted in the high impact journal. We are optimists that this program will trigger our interest and ability in the writing and publish, thus nurturing this as the new culture in our faculty. What made us most excited is this collaboration opened the door to us to do a more partnership with the UTA as a belief working together help us to overcome our weaknesses and encourage our strength to create a new opportunities in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, on the behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to welcome all the participants from UITM and UTA to this talk sections. To my dear friend in the faculty, you are here today because we are asking for your attention to support and contribution to the faculty by being involved actively in doing the research, writing, and publication. Inshallah, we grow successfully only with your dedication toward our goal in our UITM planning strategy in 2035. To our friend in UTA, we are hope that you are we benefit and attempt a valuable knowledge here, hence become more a citizen in the doing research, writing, and publications for us to become a better academicians. Lastly, without taking any more of your time, I conclude this the brief welcome speech by thinking your willingness to listen to and respect other opinion and viewpoint in this particular subject. Hope we all will gain a new insight thought these programs. Thank you. Greeting and Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks for a wonderful speech. Now, before we start, I want to provide some informations. Okay, publication is one of the platforms to disseminate the knowledge among the scholars, researchers, and practitioners. To ensure their research findings can be highly influential in the particular field, researchers and scholars should focus on reputable journals with high impact factors as a platform for their publications. However, high impact journals do not only focus on the novelty, but the journals also seek for scientific findings that could provide significant implications for reaching sustainable development goals. For high impact journals, the editor commonly reject over 70% of submission due to the two main reasons. The first reason is the paper is poor written, and second reason is the paper is out of scope and does not fit to journal style and objective. Therefore, we need to know some tips and tricks how to improve acceptance success in making our research paper to be publishable in high impact journals. Therefore, it is my pleasure to have two invited distinguished speakers who would like to share their experience pertaining to tips and tricks in publications. The first speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Adihat Sinergi from University Tunku Abdul Rahman. He will share his thought, art of writing an effective research article. Then the second speaker is Dr. Jairuddin bin Zakaria from University Technology Mara, Terengganu, will deliver his talk, where and how to get published. Before we start the sharing sessions, let me to introduce the speaker for the first section of sharing. Dr. Adihat Sinergi is an associate professor of economics at the Faculty of Business and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman. He obtained his PhD from University Science Malaysia in 2013 with the thesis title Vulnerability to Poverty, a study of rural population in Kelantan and Terengganu, Malaysia. His research interests include energy economics, developmental economics, housing economics, health economics, employee creativity and innovations. Lastly is organizational culture. Dr. Adihat has published widely in various local and international referee journals. For example, Web of Science, Scopus, chapters in books and research papers. He is serving as a reviewer of several referee journals, such as the Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, Journal of Development Career, International Journal of Social Economics, Coherence, Food and Agriculture, and Journal of Poverty. Now I would like to invite Dr. Adihat to deliver his talk. Okay, Dr. Adihat, for your general reminder, you will have around 40 minutes for your presentations. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Goyohao. And then you should remind me 5 minutes before my time off. And good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope we learn something from today's talk together. It's a sharing session based on my experience in publication and also as a reviewer for the several journals. So I'm going to share with you some of the tips and tricks that could help you in a successful publication in higher impact factor journals. I think I will try first to on my cam, and if my voice is not clear or not stable, please you let me know so that I will off it. I will share the slide first. You can see my screen. Dr. Go, you have?
Cannot see.
And now? Okay. Dr. You have? My screen is clear, right?
Yes, I can see, yes.
Okay,
you may start now.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. So, so today we are going to share some experiences that I have personally gone through in publishing articles and also as a reviewer. First of the things I would like to show you why actually we should publish in high impact journals. I think Dr. Goyohao just now mentioned some of them. First, we want to communicate our ideas and provide our research finding and new knowledge gained from our study. By doing so, then that would open for us doors to secure a permanent job especially in academia, because when you can publish in high impact factor journals, actually you are doing the marketing for yourself that you have a high class criteria of publication or research. I mean, the quality of your research is very good. That could help you to secure a new job. Also, you may get an invitation to speak at well-known conferences, and also you may receive grants, because nowadays if you want to apply grants, most of the grant provider, they would like to see your publication records. So publishing in high impact journals is one of those records. So also it boosts your academic life and career, and giving your article seen by colleagues, and therefore it will be cited. And when your citation increase, that also could be another aspect to use it when you want to apply for a job or you want to apply for a research grant. So this is, in general, what is the benefit of publication. So my talk is today is two parts. The first one, I would like to give things to consider before start writing. And the second part, I will show the structure of an articles and how to write each section of an article effectively and significantly. So the first thing, before you start your research or your article, we need to do a proper research. Means that we need to know what information is available to conduct our research, what has been done and what have not been done. From there, we will get an idea that what is the gap or limitation. So in order to do so that we could look for keywords to find most relevant articles and resources that could help us in understanding that particular issue or phenomena that we want to investigate. And another way, by using the keywords, sometimes when we find one reference on one article, we go to the reference list of that article and we try to download other articles or identify them from that particular article that you download. You go to the reference list and you get more references that is related to your research. But this is one of the most important criteria for me, the aim for a wide audience, because if your article is targeted for a very specialized, I would say, audience or a very narrow audience, the probability of publication will be very less, because the editor may see it as does not have a potential for citation. So who is the intended audiences is very important. So as I say, if it is very specialized or intent for a broader audience, I prefer that you go for a broader audience, that you will have a higher possibility or probability to get published. So remember, your purpose is to inform a wider audience of your research finding. So how we are going to do that? We need first to make sure that we don't fall in this first trick, because you may cover important and current topics, which is a wider audience, but you may not write in a style that does not reach that audience, or could be your writing is not easy to understand. So you may also publish your work in open access journal that you will target a wider audience, but you work hard to understand due to jargon. So when targeting the wider audience, you make sure that you do so in style and venues that reach out to narrow audiences. If it is this case, then you may not reach the wider audience. If your article suffer from this jargon or a hard or difficult language, it may not reach a wider audience, because when we talk about wider audience, maybe some audience that they are not really specialized in your area. So it means that you need to write in a simple language that everyone can understand it. Another thing that you need to think of is create the outlines before you start writing, because that is the map to your article. So the outlines show you how you are going from one point to another point, from A to B. And will help you to avoid repetition. And I have seen as a reviewer many articles that they have sometimes even a paragraph that being repeated, because why? The paper is not actually structured in the right way, or maybe the authors, they did not really give attention to those outlines. So the outlines are very important. Then another thing, which is, I can call it the heart of the article, where you have a compelling story. Because remember, when we do a research, it's like we are telling story. If your story incomplete or have some part which is hard to understand or confusing, then we don't understand why we say the whole story, or we don't get the idea from this story. So the things to do in order to have a compelling story is to avoid the overly technical or specialized jargon. So use those specialized terms only when you need to. Try to not using too much technical words. Of course, sometimes you need to use them, but try to minimize as much as you can. So you must also ensure the flow of reading from the sentence to sentence, paragraph to paragraph. And this is also, I have seen it in many articles, because there is no link between one sentence to one sentence, one paragraph to one paragraph, or one chapter to one chapter, or one section to one section. So discuss the idea, finish or complete that discussion. When you go to the second idea, you need to have a link. Why? You jump from A to B. It must be a bridge. And also make sure that you don't have unnecessary punctuation, that because can impede the flow. And also explaining the steps involved in scientific solution methodology will improve the flow. And again, repetition of ideas or information, that is not acceptable at all, because it will distract, reading the article, and you will be a bit annoyed as a reader when you are reading something, then after you find it somewhere, then after you find it another in introduction, literature review, then you find it in methodology, maybe you find it in a discussion. Make sure that should not happen, especially the repetition. So the coherence. Your paper should be organized so that all the pieces make sense when put together. And this is, it has a link to the previous slide, means that all the pieces, all sections of your paper, all the ideas of the paper, when you put together, it makes sense. So it's flow as a story. If you are talking about one idea, suddenly you jump to another idea without making sense to put them together or to link them, therefore that will distract the flow. So also do not leave out any materials that will help the reader grasp the rest of the document. It means that try to discuss the most important things that would help you for your investigation. And again, avoid giving out the same information more than one time, which is the same as a repetition. When you discuss one thing, do not come back and discuss it again unless it is really necessary that you need to come back to that. But try to avoid that. So the organization also another things that lead to the rejection or maybe even disrejection. So make sure to put the right part in the right section. So for example, you should not include the literature review in the methods section or literature review in the discussion. Even though in the discussion, we are going to compare our result with previous studies or with a theory, but make sure that when you do so, you do not put it as a literature review. Literature review actually is a very, I would call it an in-depth and critical discussion of previous studies. So when you go to the discussion section, so usually the focus will be more on our finding, but we just need to use previous studies or literature review to support our argument or to show how our finding is in line or oppose previous studies. So the relevance also, another important things that you need to consider. So there are countless bit of data of information you could include in your essay. So you cannot put everything, right? And this is where it comes, your ability how to manage this information. So you must adhere to the prescribed page limit of the journal. Some journal they will say only 4,000 words. Some of them they give up to 8,000. Some of them up to 10,000. So now before you start writing, when you target the journal, so you need to see what is the limit. If the limit is 4,000, and for example, you have 10 findings or 10 relationships, it is impossible to include them all in the paper because automatically will exceed 4,000. So in that case, you should focus only, for example, to 3 to 5 findings that most strongly support your hypothesis, or in case the most important or most significant finding, and you discuss them. So also do not add anything unless it is necessary to help the reader have a thorough comprehension of your topic. Some of the information you may think that it is good to put it, but actually it is or it does not add a significant understanding or value to the manuscript. So this kind of information, even that you feel that it is good, but if you are not sure that it is really important to your topic or it really add value to the paper, then you do not put it because you have, as we say, limited space. And the last one is the clarity. In order to ensure your paper clarity, make sure each paragraph and sentence flow naturally and is simple to read. So do not use a difficult English, like what we call the English literature, or so you use a simple English that anyone can understand. So an essay readability and comprehension will be determined by the intended audience. Who are your audience? So that is very important. If you want to go to a more general audience, a broader audience, then your language should be clear and very simple. But if you want to really go for more specific, yeah, some of articles it must be a more specific. Then in that case here you can use that technical English. So be sure that your language, phrasing and start up to par so people can understand it easily. Another thing that you need to put in your mind, use the right terminologies. You have tools. The first thing, do not use the same term to mean two or more different things. This will confuse the reader. This will confuse the reviewers. Most probably the editor will thus reject your paper. And another thing, do not refer to the same thing by two or more different names. I have experienced that, also my experience on that. Sometimes papers are rejected because of that. Maybe you did not really mean it, but reviewers, they confuse. For example, you use poverty and you use hunger. Actually, you are meaning the same thing, but actually they are two different terminologies. So there are others, terminologies. So you make sure that your terms or choosing the right terms that will measure your variables or your paper. So use the right tone and tense. Usually we write in active voice. Unless if you have a valid reason, then you may use a passive voice. Active voice, let's say, for example, the dog chasing the ball. Passive, you write it in a way the ball was chased by the dog. So we don't actually prefer in academia to write in a passive. Active is more appropriate. But if you have a reason to go for passive, then should be okay. Then when we come to tenses, in the manuscript, we have different tenses and depend on the scenario and the circumstances. For example, simple past, present perfect, simple present, and sometimes we use the modal verbs. So we use the past tense when you use the author prominent style, or usually when we have finding. For example, Carnevali in 2017 argued that or found that. That is the past. Present perfect tense is often used when the focus of the work is often in several authors. For example, you say Lin in all 2016, 1 and Chen 2010 have stressed that. So we have more than author, a group of authors. And you can use also the present perfect tense in another way when you want to refer to how much or how little the research has been carried. For example, loyalty to leaders have been overlooked by the CTIC, for example. So you can see here that loyalty leaders is overlooked. So you use the present perfect tense. And most probably, most of the time we use the present tense. We use it a lot. So also this is used when you refer to generally accepted scientific fact. When you have a generally accepted fact. For example, did they all explain that expertise indicates set of factual memory and so on. That a general accepted scientific fact. So we use the present tense. And in sometimes we use modal verbs. And also this may be used if you wish to introduce a degree of tentativeness into your comment. For example, you say VBSEM or should be used when predicting and explaining measure. Should be, could be, would be. So when you want to introduce a degree of tentativeness, then you should use that modal verbs. So it is, you can see, you need to know each one where you are going to use it. And this is make the flow of reading of your article, of your search, very good. Another things to avoid or things to do. First, you avoid unfamiliar abbreviation. So, for example, if I put UN, most of you know United Nations, correct? Or the World Health Organization, or whatever, or IMF. This is all very known, but maybe if I put FBF, my faculty, so many people, they don't understand what is FBF, Faculty of Business and Finance. So this unfamiliar abbreviation, avoid them. Avoid long sentence. Make sure your sentence maximum 2 lines, 1.5, full stop, and continue, because long sentences will confuse the readers. To make understanding the idea is more complicated. Another thing you need to do is you need to take self-criticism seriously. Be open-minded, you know. Actually, you need to criticize your work also. I mean, read your work and criticize. Ask questions that you put yourself as a reviewer. Ask questions and criticize yourself seriously, and based on that critics, you go and amend and adjust. Again, another thing which is usually, even myself, sometimes even now, we ignore the journal instructions to the authors as very important. Sometimes if you don't follow the instruction to authors, we get this rejection because the editor feels like that if you don't spend time to understand what is the instruction for this journal, so what about your work? So you already have a negative perception, you know, the editor may have on you. Another thing, you need to get feedback on your manuscript from your friend, colleagues, expert, and adjust. And usually we do that we go for conferences, right, before we publish. But if you don't want to go for conference, then it's fine. You can ask your friend. This is also another thing which is very important. Write a convincing cover letter to show why your research should be published, why your research is important, and what significance or value added your research could add or could contribute to the existing knowledge. If you convince the author in this cover letter, then you have high probability your article to be published. Another thing, before submitting, you edit your writing, edit the content. Sometimes you need to remove subsection or section. Sometimes you need to add section, subsection. Sometimes you need to add some of the components in your research, improve them. After you finish with that, then you go for edit for the grammars. That one, all of us, we have that issue. Sometimes we need to send the paper to a proofreader or professional proofreading. Another thing that it may be also could be reasons for your rejection or less rejection is citation. Make sure all sources cited in the literature review should be listed in the references. So I'm not going to talk about that. We have two styles. We have information prominent citation, where the emphasis is more on the idea, then you put the citation, and we have author-prominent citation when the emphasis is more on the author. You say Amadeli, 1997, componential theory of individual, and this and this. So you have these two ways. So again, I think Dr. Goyo, how he went to some of the this reason for this rejection. As we say, the manuscript is not suitable for journal, mismatch with the journal aim and scope. That is very important. The journal aim or scope, the first thing that you need to read, and then you decide if your manuscript is going back or no. It lacks novelty, originality, or significance. It is more descriptive than statistical work. If you use the data just to describe the data, 100%, I can guarantee to you high probability that you will get this rejection. It poses an interesting question that leads nowhere. You pose a question that is not interesting, and we don't know where this question will lead us. It has a poor study design, especially in methodology or the study framework, poor language and presentation. Another way or another reasons for this rejection. Ethical issues such as plagiarism, or maybe you conducted a survey that need ethical clearance, but you did not obtain the ethical clearance, and length and inconsistency of the manuscript. Either the manuscript is too long or too short. So that is very important. If the article says between 6,000 to 8,000, try to be around 7,000, not 5,500 or not 9,000. So another things that you need to consider. Another things that could be rejection after the review process, means after you succeeded in the first step, technical we call it as assessment by the editor. He sent a reviewer, but reviewer rejecting your paper. Why? Most probably you have a defect in the design, methodology, or the framework, or lack of knowledge, as we say, lack of clear message, because the language is very difficult to understand. Or maybe that all good, but your result have very small effect. You could, all your variables maybe are not significant. Small issues that make problems, or you're investigating an issue, but that issue actually is very small. I mean, it does not have an impact to the economy. For example, if you're studying about the economy, maybe factors that impact for the economic growth in Malaysia, and you go and choose something what has maybe only 0.5%. So it does not have an impact. The foundation of the research is not properly explained, or the research has confusing chart. When you put the chart, you confuse the reader, or the chart are contradicting your finding, and the numbers do not match, and discrepancy is not explained. Means finding say something, framework say another thing else, previous studies on say another thing else. So actually you don't have any justification or any support for your finding. So this is another reason why reviewers reject your paper. So what do you do if your mindset is rejected? First, do not panic, do not angry, and do not reply to the editor. So make sure be cool and do not be emotional. You just approach a rejection decision with cool-headed because that is a normal process for us as an academician or as a researcher. So be humble and accept criticism. What you need to do is you improve the manuscript based on reviewer comment and send it back to a new journal. Make sure that you have addressed all previous reviewer comment and do not send an identical version to the next journal because remember, especially if your paper is specialized in the area, even you send to another journal, you may have your journal reviewed by the same previous reviewer. So when the previous reviewer will see that you have done nothing but you just put the same article to another journal, then 100% is going to reject it. And maybe he will give you the same comment. So make sure that you take criticism seriously and do that. So this in general in the first part. I think I'm on time. So I go for the second part, how we structure our manuscript. The first thing that you need to think is about your title. Your title must be very catchy. That is the first step for the acceptance of the paper. So remember that title help you prepare reader or reviewer to understand and believe the research that is to follow. Means you are saying that my research is very interesting. So based on Maxine and Harrison and Michael Keane, 2003, they say there is 4 criteria. First, the title must predict the content. It must catches the reader interest, means that when I read the title, it will catch my interest, and it reflects the tone or the slant of the piece of the writing, and it contains keywords that make it easy to access by the computer search, where we have the keywords, right? So they say that keeping these functions in mind will help you choose a specific and meaningful title, not a mere label. So in this slide, we can see, for example, those 4 titles, and we have these 4 criteria: predict, interesting, reflect the tone, or important keywords. So I don't want to spend much time on that, but make sure when you choose your title, you get this all here. Yes, you yourself you do an assessment. For example, this here, meditation gurus. Predict the content? No. What does it mean? What are you going to do? Meditation gurus. But interesting, right? Because we're talking about meditation and gurus. So it would be a very interesting relationship between them. But reflect the tones, no. Important keywords, no. But it's very interesting. So we want something that you have it all. For example, nurses on the move, a quantitative report on how meditation can improve nurse performance. So that I think a very comprehensive title that predict your content. It is very interesting, reflect the tone, and it has all the keywords, quantitative, you have nurse performance, meditation, and nurses. So this is the first step that you need to do. So when writing a title, I call it apply these KUA rules. Keep, use, avoid. Keep it simple, brief, and attractive. Use appropriate descriptive words because a good research title should contain the keywords used in the study. The keywords that you use in the study, you should put in the title, and avoid, as we say, abbreviation and jargons. Non-abbreviations such as AIDS, NATO, UN, that is very known, it's okay. But if you want to write something FBF or very something that is not very really unfamiliar, so no need to do it. And this is the element of a good title. This here a good title, and this is a poor title. So the first thing, the length, it should be between 10 to 15 words. Second, punctuation, you must have comma, colons, and semicolons. Keywords must be there. Abbreviation, no, you don't put them. Jargon, no, don't put them. Almost, no, don't put that. Geographic location, also don't put that. Correct grammar and spelling, it must be there. You have to edit your title. And follow the journal guidelines. Yes, if the journal guidelines say only 10 words, put only 10 words. And clearly state the point of the article, as we say here. Predict the content. So that's criteria you should put in your mind. Then the second thing, the abstract. You need to have a very crystal clear abstract. Usually abstract between 100 to 300 words. Sorry, as here, words for a research paper, and usually goes to 500 words for thesis or dissertation. So one component of the abstract, you need to talk about the introduction or the background, one sentence, another sentence about the problem statement, another sentence about the research question or your hypothesis, another sentence about the method and the procedure of the research, then another one is major finding and your implication. So those elements, it must be there. If you are missing one, then your abstract would be not really clear, because those all they have linked to each other. One complete the second criteria. So we have three types of abstract. We have descriptive abstracts, which is usually used for social sciences and humanities, and these do not give specific information about the method and the result. Then we have informative abstract, which are commonly used in social sciences and sciences, and it represents information on background, the aim, the study, the result, and conclusion, as just now it shows. And we have structured abstract, are essentially which is informative abstract divided into series of headlines. Usually here, Emerald, they use this a lot. For example, usually abstract they write it in one what we say paragraph, but in Emerald journals they use structure one. You must have background, then you must have problem statement, for example, then you have objective, then you have method, then you have here one sentence, one sentence, one sentence, one. It's very structured. So either use this or this, depend. Then how you decide, you go to the journal and read the instruction. I'm sure that if it is Emerald, we are going for that. Science Direct, Sage, we usually go for that, which is one paragraph. So now let's go. Now we talk about the background of the study. So you should give overview of your study. You should use, as I call it, EDIP rule: establish, describe, indicate, and provide. So the first one, you have to establish a general and a broad topic. Means that you give a general overview of your topic and describe the gaps and the missing link that need to be addressed. What have been done, what have not been done so far, and here where you need to invest. So indicate the significance of addressing those gaps. Why we need to address these gaps? What the important information we can get or important knowledge? How we are going to advance the current research, that it must be indicated in the introduction. Remember, introduction is the first thing to be read by reviewers or by the editors. If you impress him there, I can tell you most probably your paper will be published. The last one, provide rationale of your study, why your study is important, but you still need to distinguish between the background of the study and literature. Some of the studies in the background studies, even though it looks like literature, because we want to know what is the missing link and what is the gap, but remember it is not literature review, so we cannot go too much in details until we reach the second part of literature review. So this always you put in your mind that background of the study is not literature review. So one of the common mistakes to avoid in writing background: first, do not write a background that is too long or too short. When you write too long, you may put something that we don't need and necessary. When you write too short, you may miss some very important information. Do not be ambiguous, writing in a way that does not convey the message. So you have to be very clear, very oriented, directly to the point. So do not write 3 sentences to get the point. One sentence goes straight to the point. Do not discuss unrelated themes or unrelated issues. So you're talking, for example, about poverty, but your aim is about urban poverty only. So you don't go and discuss about rural poverty. And also the last, do not be disorganized, not, for example, not discussing the themes in a chronological manner. For example, in the theories, usually theories develop in a chronological manner, right? First theory has limitations, second theory comes from that limitation and advances and goes forward, right? So you don't go from back to up or from the middle, go to the first and come back. If the things we need to understand, it must go to a chronological order. You need to follow that chronological order. So usually that will help make the story very clear and coherent. Now go to literature review. In literature review, first of the thing, do not attempt to cover everything because again we have limits of the words of pages, right? Means that you need to put only the research most relevant to your study. Only the most relevant. So use a literature review as an evidence that your research question is important one. So you use previous studies to prove that your research question need to be investigated. So another thing, when you do literature review, you need to discuss all your study variables. If you have 3 variables, you need to study them all, discuss them all, not discuss 2 and 1 is not just pop up like that. That definitely will or, make the publication more difficult. Focus more on research that explain relationship between the variables, I mean your variables, and plan the structure of your literature review. And here we can use the summary table that later I will go to show you. So how we review previous studies? First, we just need to summarize those studies, what have been done, what have not been done. Then argue their ideas or their finding in a polite way, in a professional way, and state your hypothesis clearly and link them to previous literature. So how we're going to do summarize, argue, and state. This table will help us. For example, those are the authors, what data they use, what methodology they use, what finding they have. So when we read, we can, for example, know that this author with this, maybe they have same finding. For example, they found relationship between these is similar. Or maybe another one, this with this, they have same methodology, for example. So this table will help you to organize the literature. And of course, you don't no need to put it in the paper, but you just prepare it for you. So when preparing literature review, to have a very good literature review, you need to consider those questions. I just go very fast because I think my time is almost. What do we already know about the phenomenon being investigated? What are the main factors or variables that could explain our phenomenon? What are the relationship between those factors, concepts, or variables? What are the existing theories that could explain the relationship between dependent variable and independent variable? What are the inconsistencies or shortcomings in our knowledge and understanding or in previous studies? What views need to be further investigated? What evidence is lacking, inconclusive, contradictory, or too limited? And what research design or method seem unsatisfactory in investigating this phenomenon? So this question, you have to put it in your mind and you make sure that all you discuss that in literature review. If you can do so, I guarantee 100% you'll come out with a very fantastic theoretical framework. So the method, actually we describe the step involved in conducting a research or an experiment or the field work. So we explain the logic for the section of certain experimental techniques. We explain what was done and how it was done and which one fit your research. So we describe the process used to the data analysis. Previous studies, they use different methodologies. Which one fit your research and how you use it? How you measure the variable, how you define them, how you collect the data, what is your sample size, what is your research design? Those all you need to put them in your methodology. So now we have data analysis. So make sure when you get the result, I mean, to get the result from the software is very easy. Anyone can use SmartPLS, SPSS, if you start out whatever software, you get number. But the thing is that how you are going to explain those numbers, what these numbers means. So you need to analyze, not narrate. You need to give a, a very good analysis, a very good discussion to those numbers, the meaning of those numbers, the impact, the influence, the prediction. So you need to go back to research a flow chart and do it or break it down into a research objective or research question. Sometimes we do it in hypothesis, also easier. So I go to hypothesis 1, I explain it, finding hypothesis 2. You can do it by objective or by research question. It's up to you how you want to arrange it. But the most easiest one for me, a hypothesis. Then identify the phenomenon to be investigated, and you need to visualize the expected answers. And here you need to validate the answer with the data. Means that do not tell something not supported by the data. If you want to say hypothesis 1 is supported, it must really justified by your data. So everything in the analysis is discussed, it must be supported by the data. You cannot add something new which is not supported by the data. That will be speculation, later we talk about it. So what we need to avoid when writing discussion, do not be too broad about the impact of the research. You have to be very specific because remember, we come like that in the deductive research, then we go back, we start from background, come here the method, then our finding here. So we need to be a bit specific, then we generalize the finding and we put conclusion. So don't include the new terms or ideas in the section just now I say. Something you did not discuss previously in literature review or is not even supported by your data. So that is very critical. Then, over interpretation of the result. It is easy to inflate the interpretation of the result, but you need to be very careful that your interpretation of the result does not go beyond what is supported by the data or supported by the data. The data is data, remember that, right? Nothing more, nothing less. So you cannot say something that inflating like a balloon, right? But it is not supported by your data. The second one is unwarranted speculation, just now I talked. So you cannot speculate or you cannot assume unless if you had a very good justification. For example, if the subject of FDI in Malaysia, you cannot just speculate that this finding also applicable to Indonesia unless if you have a reason to say that. If you want to speculate or you want to assume, make sure that you make it very clear. You say, for example, we speculate or we assume that the finding also applicable on Indonesian economy. Then again, inflating the importance of the finding. So we want our study, of course, to make an important contribution that will be cited. But remember, unwarranted inflation of the importance of the study result will discuss reviewers and readers because anyway the reviewers will know if you are inflating the importance of your finding or no. Remember, reviewer also has the same area of expertise as you in that research. So you cannot just simply inflate the result. So again, try to avoid the tangential issues. Tangential refers to something that is not part of the work. So it is very important actually to remain focused on the hypothesis and the study result. And if you inject these tangential issues into the discussion section, this will distract and confuse the readers. Because those tangential issues, something that not part of the work, why you want to put them? So you may divert the direction of the research. So we come to the conclusion. In your conclusion, the first thing that you need to put is give a take-home message in the form of conclusion. What is take-home message? What do you want the reader to remember in your study or to the reviewer? That is very important. So the take-home message should be the first sentence in your conclusion section. I want my reader to remember that FDI is very important to the merchant economy. For example, I have to put it first. Then do not forget the contribution of the research or contribution to the knowledge, how your research added value to the existing knowledge. That is very important. If you fail to show that in your research, high probability your paper will not be published. And policy implication, another thing that so many authors or researchers they ignore. That is very important. Of course, after you have a finding, what are the implications of those findings to the economy, to the policymakers, to practitioners, to people? So that is very important. You need to put a policy implication. And another thing which is, I can say, very critical, you have to show your limitation. Remember, all studies have limitation. And unfortunately, the limitation of some studies are fatal. For example, I have seen some of the papers telling like that our data is, for example, not valid, or there is, I have to say, some doubt in the value of our data. If you say that sentence as a limitation, actually you already kill your research. If the data is not valid, then why you have to do research? So you make sure that when you put your limitation are not fatal for your research. So, but we need to remember, even the best studies in the most prestigious journals have limitation. There is no researcher can claim that his study does not have limitation. So it is better to identify and show and acknowledge your study limitation rather than give an opportunity to the reviewer to point out this limitation, and he may even reject your paper. So when you point out and you acknowledge limitation, you are telling the reviewer, I'm aware of that, and that limitation does not affect the validity of my research. So you are telling the reviewer that I have thought of that, and I'm sure that this limitation is marginal, does not significantly impact the quality or the validity of my research. I think this is what I want to share with you. I think I'm 5 minutes, let's say, extra. I'm so sorry for that. Thank you very much, Dr. Goyuhao, and to all the audience. And later, I think we are going to receive your questions. The floor is yours, Dr. Goyuhao.
Yes. Okay, thanks for Dr. Alihab with his wonderful sharings. Okay, for the kindly reminder, participants are required to sign in and sign out via the link shared in YouTube chat box for attendance purpose. Okay, participants can post any question in the chat box. Then I will address the question during the Q&A sessions. Okay, now we move to the second session of sharings. Dr. Zairuddin bin Zakaria from University Technology Mara, UITM, Terengganu, will deliver his talk, where and how to get published. Okay, let me to introduce the speaker. Dr. Haji Zairuddin Zakaria is the senior lecturer in Faculty of Business and Management, UITM, Terengganu. He has completed his PhD in Relationship Marketing in University Technology, Mara, Shah Alam, Selangor. He has 23 over years of experience in teaching subjects related to the business, marketing, and entrepreneurship that has done multiple supervisions for graduate and undergraduate. His main current research areas are business, development economics, and management, and has published widely in various local and international referee journals, such as Web of Science, Scopus, and chapter in books. Besides, he is also serving as a reviewer of several referee journals and conducted multiple research projects as a principal and core researcher. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Zairuddin to deliver his talk. Dr. Darudin, you are given 40 minutes, around 40 minutes for your presentations. Now the floor is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to the moderator, to ladies and gentlemen, to the first speaker, Dr. Abdul Haq, friends and colleagues. Let me start with the saying the Al-Fatiha. Auzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Shiratal mustaqim. Shiratal ghairil Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Basically, the major part of my presentation has been discussed in detail by Dr. Abdul Haq. So my presentation is more of a general guideline, okay, general guideline and tips on where and how to publish your journal, okay, to publish in high impact journals. Okay, so to do that, let me share my slide. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Okay, and perhaps my presentation will be okay.
Okay, I can
see. Why publish in high impact journals? Okay, what's the motive or the reason for publishing in high impact journals? Okay. So your research is worthless until it is published. Okay, when you conduct your research, you want the world to know. Okay, your friends and colleagues, your students, to know what have you discovered in your research. Okay, so it gives you the self-satisfaction, knowing that people are reading your work. Okay, people are. The readers are getting something, some knowledge, a new knowledge, a new discovery from your research. Okay, and the value of your research when it is published increases when it is being cited by other authors. Okay, in their articles. Publication as a platform of knowledge sharing. Okay, just what I just told you. Okay, so the intention is that you want to share the knowledge with as many people as possible. Okay, so it is a merit to your own work. Okay, to your to your career, that that people are benefiting from your research, or what are you your knowledge in the field of study. Okay. Publish or perish. Okay, this is especially true for us academician. Is part of our KPI, right? Okay, part of our our objective, or our performance indicator. Okay, whether we are a good lecturer or academician. And also obviously is for promotional criteria. Okay, so it is I think a big challenge for us. Okay, a big challenge for many of us. Okay, that to publish in journals, especially high impact journals. Okay. Okay, let me change the slide first. Okay. Okay, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to talk in general some tips and some tips and general guidelines. Okay. Okay. So the first before that, I'm going to show you the topics of my presentation as follows. Okay, there are 8 topics. Okay, so I'm going to discuss them rather in short, okay, not in detail, okay. In general, I will discuss them, okay, in relation to how and on how to help you to have a bigger chance of publishing in high impact journals. Okay. Okay, number one is the novelty and conceptual advancement. I think Dr. Abdul Haq also has touched on this. Okay, so before you try to or you plan to publish in any journals for that matter, okay, you must understand that it is you are trying to show the world that, or trying to share with the world what are the novelty and conceptual advancement or new things, new knowledge that you have discovered. Okay, so for example, you have this unique fish, okay, called the Solocath. Okay, so it is thought to be extinct 66 million years ago. 66 million years ago, but rediscovered in 1938 okay, off the coast of South Africa. So this is an analogy of when you are writing, you are supposed when you are trying to publish in these journals, okay, you want to show your advancement or the novelty of your research or what you are writing, okay, the subject that you are writing, okay, the contribution to the existing knowledge. Okay, so the novelty is so I believe that the reviewers will be looking for this novelty. Okay, so it can be okay, the highest level is the theory, and then the concept, and then the methodology. Okay, how do you conducted the research? Okay, if it is something that is advanced or something that is new, okay, to the in your field of study, in your field of interest, that can also be part of the novelty and advancement of contribution of the knowledge. Okay. All right. So the work must provide a significant step forward for the field and provide a new for the field of study and provide a new direction in the field of study. Okay. Okay, now select an appropriate publication. Okay, so finding the right journal for your article can dramatically improve the chance of acceptance and ensure it reaches your target audience. Okay, so the question is, should you be looking for the right type or the right journals, or conduct your research first? Okay, focus on your field of study, and then only then find the research. The journals that of similar topic or similar field of area, okay, area of study. Okay, so it's like a chicken and egg question. Okay, which come first, the egg or the chicken? Okay, so it depends. Okay, perhaps you have received grants that requires you to focus on certain issues or certain area of study. Okay, then after completing the research, you want to publish the research. Okay, so then only then you will search for the right journals. Okay, but at the same time, if you are starting your writing, okay, or you want to look at the goal first, look at the output first before writing. I mean where to publish first and then start writing. Okay, start applying for grants. That can also be a strategy for you to get published in any journals for that matter. Okay, so you try to find journals that is suitable in your field of study, and then try to get grants to conduct that research in that study, and eventually you can plan to publish in that journals, in that particular journals. So I have listed this some website, some link that you may want to search for the different kind of publisher. For example, Elsevier, Mohi, okay, the list, the journals under my site, index by my site, Ashimago for Scopus, Clarivate for WOS, so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, an author should submit a manuscript to only one journal at a time. Okay. 3. Okay, I think this is also has also been touched or discussed by Dr. Abdul Haq. Read the aims and scope and author guidelines of your target journal carefully. Okay, read the aims and scope of the journals in your target research area. Absorb the author's guideline and ensure your manuscript conforms to them. Understand and digest the guideline. So as we all know, different journals would have different guidelines. And you can also consult your colleagues, friends, students, people that have published in similar journals, and ask them the challenges and the what are the specific guideline, okay? Specific guideline that you need to understand and digest and, write according to that guideline. Number 4, make a good first impression with your title and abstract. I believe that Dr. Abdul Haq has also touched this in details. Okay, so I just want to touch on some of the elements that, okay, of a good abstract. Okay, before that, the title should summarize the main theme of the article and reflect your contribution to the theory. You can refer to the site of Dr. Abdul Haq for more details. Okay, in terms of abstract, the aim and scope of the study, you should include the aim and scope of the study, key problems to be addressed, and also what theory or concept you are using, the methods, the data set, key findings, limitation, and implication for theory and practices. In other words, it is similar to an executive summary of a report. Okay, so you want to entice and you want to get the attention of the reader, and tell them what they can expect, okay, in the writings, okay, what they can expect in the subsequent topics, okay, for example, the introduction and the literature, okay, the methodology, the analysis, so on and so forth. So it is, it is a synopsis of what the reader should be expecting from your article. Okay, but it has to be attractive enough, and provide a good first impression to the reviewer. Okay, number 5, have a professional editing firm to copy edit, not just proofread your manuscript, including the main text, list of references, table, and figures. Okay, so so you need to, I think it is advisable for you not to edit the article yourself. Okay, unless you have a member in your team that focus specifically in editing and proofreading your article. Okay, for example, recently I have I've submitted an article to one journal that is indexed by my site, Journal Intellect of UiTM Perlis. Okay, so in addition to the format of the manuscript, you also need to submit a letter, okay, a letter from your proofreader. Okay, so from your proofreader. So whoever is your proofreader, it can be a professional proofreader, or it can be someone, your friends, or a teacher. Okay, they need to produce a letter saying that they have edited and proofread the article. Okay, and then you need to provide a proof of similarity index. Okay, a turn in it report. Okay, to be uploaded in the website. Okay, of Journal Intellect. Okay. The different requirements, there are different requirements for different journals. Okay. 30% and 50% of articles submitted to Elsevier journals are rejected before they even reach the peer review stage. Okay, the top reason for rejection is poor language. This is by Elsevier. So your writing need to be excellent. Okay, to be tip top. Okay, if you want to go for the higher level journals. Okay. Okay, I think that is self-explanatory. Okay. Number 6. Okay, are we on number 6? Okay. Okay, number 6 is submit a cover letter with the manuscript. This depends. Okay, whether you need to submit a manuscript or not depends on the journals. Okay, depends on the policy of the journals. Okay. So a good cover letter must outline the main theme of the paper, argues the novelty of the paper, justify the relevance of the manuscript to the target journal. Okay, in my case, submitting to Journal Intellect, they do not require a cover letter. Okay. Okay, so this is an example of a cover letter. I think you can look at it later on. Okay, so let me try to increase the view. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is an example of a cover letter that I took from the internet. Okay. All right. So you have. I hope you can see the slide. Okay. First of all, you need to address to whom you are writing. Introduction. Okay. For example, on behalf of our research group, members at the Department of Communication, Technology and Network, I would like to thank you for your effort and cooperation for the success of publishing high quality research in a professional manner. Okay, so introduction, declaration, summary of the paper, the significance, interest of the readership. Okay, we think that the readership of your journal would be interested in this article since it provides a new approach to congestion control, so on and so forth. Okay, performance of data communication up to 50% in many cases. Okay, and thanks. Okay, it's very short, but it's a short cover letter. But you need to include all these items. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, address reviewers' comments. Reviewer comments very carefully. Okay, so after you let's say, for example, you send to a particular journals, and then you receive comments from the reviewer. Okay, so it is very important to address the revisions diligently, address all the comments. received from the reviewer. Okay. The resubmission of the revised manuscript must happen by the deadline provided by the journal. The revision process might comprise multiple rounds. Okay, so sometimes you need to send 2 documents. Okay, revised manuscript highlighting all the modification you made, following the recommendation received from the reviewers, and a letter listing the author's responses, illustrating they have addressed all the concern of the reviewers and editors. Okay, so I made a mistake. Okay, I made a mistake sending to one of the journals that it is due, for example, let's say 28th of October. So I send actually it's the first level, the raw article, like 2 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so I receive a letter, okay, or emails saying that they will not consider my submission. Okay, so unfortunately, I took it for granted that I can still send the. Let's say the due date is 28th of October, but I send the article at 2 a.m. 29th of October. Okay, past midnight. Okay, so I made a mistake of taking it for granted that when they meant 28th, for example, 28th of October, I can still send the article after midnight. Okay, but I made that mistake, so I learned from that mistake not to take it for granted. The due dates of submission, of the reviews, okay, so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, the next part of my presentation is some tips on writing. Okay, so this is just some addition to what Dr. Abdul Haq has mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is more of a general guideline. Okay, in terms of title, okay, it must be informative. Telling the reader what the finding was. It should be clear and concise. Look at published articles as your guideline. Okay, so the rule of thumb is before you submit an article to a particular journals, try to read the published articles. Okay, usually they have a section under archives or recent publication. Okay, so you can refer to the articles as your guideline. Okay, and you can it is advisable for you also to quote some of the published articles by of writers that send writers or articles that have been published in the particular journals. Okay, the author of the articles that have been published in the respective journal. Okay, for example, you want to publish article in a journal, a journal, let's say Procedia, Procedia, so it is advisable for you to quote some of the authors that have published their articles in Procedia, or any other journals for that matter. Abstract, they must be informative, attractive, and effective. So the abstract is like the packaging, the packaging and labeling of a product. So it has to be attractive, and it catches the attention of the reader, of the reviewer. So it entices them to read more, to know about the article. Sometimes they only read the abstract before they make the decision whether it's worthy to be published, because they don't have a lot of time reading through all the submission. So the abstract is like similar to your package and labeling of the products. It attracts the people to know about the product, to learn more about the product, and hopefully they will buy the product. So that's the idea. Keywords must be helpful for indexing and searching the articles when it is published. Okay, introduction. Okay, introduction. Explain the background and contents. Make it simple and clear. Directly drive the reader to the problem. Okay, drive the reader to the problem, motivation and significance of the work. Okay, what's the reason for you doing the research? What is the issue? What is the challenges that you discover that that warrants you to do the research? Okay, don't make it an extensive essay. Define aims and objective of the paper. Be specific. The wider study is probably not that relevant, hardly acceptable. Okay, what does this mean? This means that uh, your 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 writing should focus on unique problems. Okay, unique problems, unique issues. Okay, that that is in the at the frontier of the field of study. Okay, the more unique or the more special is the issues or problem, the more chances for you to get the articles read by the reviewer. Okay, I give you an example of my colleague who have published in Q1 article. So the article is on microfinancing. Okay, microfinancing. So it is an article on microfinancing in Malaysia, focusing on the Tekun and the Amanah Ikhtiar program. Okay, so it is something unique that the world can learn from our experience, from the Malaysian experience. Okay, and they discusses about the pro and cons. Okay, the advantages and disadvantages of the program, so on and so forth. Okay, so it's something unique that the world wants to know. Okay, the audience wants to know. Okay, so it may be similar, it may be different from other microfinancing projects around the world. Okay, but the idea is that it is unique and interesting, and it is an eye opener for some of the for the readers, for the reviewers. Okay, in that particular field. Okay. Okay, avoid referencing to any PhD and master thesis, or this depend. Okay, depend on whether to the policy of the journals. The research should stand or fall on its own merits under peer review. Explain structure of the paper. Okay, paper examine the upcoming section. Present the literature review and section 3 or exhibits of the methodology. Okay, this is introduction of what the reader can expect to the subsequent topics of the article. Okay. Next. So literature review, basically Dr. Abdul Haq has touched on how to write a good literature review. Okay, so I'm going to touch just some of it. Okay, develop your arguments, bringing a relevant citation as example of who supports or conflict the argument. Okay, and this is also something that have been discussed earlier. So each paragraph should discuss a single theme or central idea, one or more sentences. Each sentences make sense on its own. However, just like in any article, any report, okay, one paragraph should be connected to the next paragraph. Okay, the rule of thumb is that the first word of a particular paragraph introduce the audience to the main idea of the paragraph, and the last sentence of a paragraph is an introduction to the next paragraph. Reference the key authors, stick to example from the best journals, use example from your target journals. Okay, use example from your target journal on how to cite your references. Focus on the current and new literature, 5 years back, majority 3 years back. Okay, majority of the article wants you to cite 3 years back. I mean, the majority of the citation should be 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years from the current year. Okay, all references must be accessible, meaning to say that, you know, if the reviewer wants to access the article, it is there. It is where they can find it easily. Okay. In terms of methodology, can the reader follow your complete method from start to finish? Is there a questionnaire? Have you appendix it? Are steps missing? Can you refer the reader to another source? If not the present paper, all the formula and values accurately reported. Nothing frustrates reviewers like being unable to follow the logic because the paper is incomplete. Okay, for if you're doing a survey, for example, okay, you must mention your research approach. Okay, your whether it's qualitative or quantitative, your population, your sample, okay, your data collection method, okay, and then so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So it must be in chronological or follows the guidelines or the steps of the particular research method. Okay, if you are doing a qualitative, then you must abide by the discipline of qualitative research. Okay. Discussion conclusion. Okay, in terms of for discussion and conclusion, tie the discussion back to the themes from literature review. So the paper has consistency, link conclusion to the objectives of the paper, thus completing the cycle, okay, of the article. Identify any limitation, make recommendation for future research, discuss any implication or impact for theory and practice. Okay, so please don't make the mistake of discussing the research output or the research analysis. Okay, in the conclusion, you are interpreting and giving meanings to the data analysis. So you don't need to go into details. Okay, your research findings in the conclusion. Okay, these are my references, and that's all from me. So thank you for your attention. I hope I have not exceed the time limit, and I have list some of the use journal websites. Okay, maybe the organizer can share this. Okay, with everybody. Okay. All right. And you also need to check the validity of candidate journals from the website. And a word of caution: if you make sure that the journals are still currently indexed by the index. For example, for Scopus, it is still under Scopus. For WOS, is still indexed by Scopus. You can check in the respective website whether it is currently indexed or not. Okay, I think there is a signal to stop presenting. So with that, I thank you. Thank you for attention. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for Dr. Zainuddin for your very informative sharings. Now it is a Q&A sessions. I have compiled several questions, okay, and paste into the chat room. The speaker, you can refer to the chat box. Okay, let's say for the first questions, okay, if the paper is rejected by 2 journals, does that mean it should be published at all, and or is amateurist? Dr. Ahad, can you answer these questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Goyo. Basically, sometimes paper is rejected more than 4 times, not even 2 times. So that is the process of publication. Sometimes you get the first rejection, you do whatever reviewers ask to do, then you submit to another journal. Another journal also send the reviewers also reject it and give different, maybe comments or different views. So remember, reviewers are different. They may have different approaches. They may have a different understanding on your topic. So if your paper is rejected by 2 journals, do not give up. Continue improving and submit it again and again. I have experienced that one paper is rejected more than 5 times. At the end, was published in a high impact factor. So actually, by those rejection, you are actually improving your paper because each rejection will show you some part of the limitation of the paper. So if you are really serious and you take this comment or these critics seriously and improve them, then 100% that your paper it will be a better, a higher quality, and therefore it will lead to publication. The second question, where should we include the limitation of the study? Yeah, actually, our limitation of the study we include it in the conclusion. You know, right after we finish the conclusion, then some of the papers they want it as a subsection. Some of them is fine to include it with conclusion, but I prefer you put it as a subsection itself so that the reviewer or the editor will see it. And when you write the limitation, as I say, make sure that your limitation does not, what you say, negatively affect the validity of your finding. So limitation could be in your methods used, in your measurement of the variables, in the theory, could be in the data collection process. But anyway, as I say, make sure that the limitation does not have a very significant impact on the validity of your findings. I think this is for the 2 questions, Dr. Goyoha. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, thanks for your answer, Dr. Ahad. We move on to the other questions. Okay, how do I find the best journals for my manuscript or papers? And what are the way to identify a good journals in a particular research? Dr. Jairuddin, can you answer the questions from the participants?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Okay, in my humble opinion, okay, I think the 2 questions are related. The 2 questions are related. So number one, how do I find the best journal for my manuscript or papers? Okay, so I'm assuming that you have written the papers. Okay, you have written the manuscript. Okay, so first you have to ask yourself, what kind of indexing are you looking for? Are you looking for WAS? Are you looking for Scopus, ISI? Or are you looking for, you want to publish in my site, index journals, so on and so forth? Okay, so my advice is that, okay, you must identify the theme of your manuscript papers. Okay, what is the theme? What is the issue that you are? What is the issue are you discussing, and what is the contribution to the existing knowledge that your manuscript or research, your manuscript are presenting, are going to present to the audience. Okay, then you can, let's say you want to go for my site indexing. Then you need to go to the Mohi My Site website. Okay, then they have a list of journals. Okay, list of journals, and then you can click any of the journals, and you need to read the introduction to the journals, or the sometimes it says that the title is about the journals. Okay, the synopsis of general information about about the journal. What is its objective, its aim, its scope of publication, policy, so on and so forth. Okay, in other words, you are trying to learn what is the expectation of the journals. Okay, then you look back, you refer to your article. Is it suitable for that index journal? For that, let's say for that my site index journal. Okay. Similarly, if you want to go for let's say WOS index journal, you need to again go to the respective websites. Okay, and if you go to for Scopus Index, you need to click to the Shimago JR website. Okay, and you can filter the information by area of study. Okay, by subjects and even by countries. Okay, so you need to filter them first if you want to go for Shimago for Scopus Index. And then you have to ask yourself whether you want to go for Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4. Okay, so on and so forth. So in other words, you are looking at the objective, the goal, and then refer back to what you have written. So what standard? What is the standard of your manuscript? Okay, is it equivalent to the indexing level and the expectation of the journals? And again, I think question number 2 is related to question number 1. So I think it's a similar answer. Okay, so if you are doing your research now, okay, you can look through the websites, the journal's website, the publisher websites, and look at what is their requirement, their expectation, their rules and policies, so on and so forth. Okay, and then once you get the result of the research, then you can start writing according to the what they are expecting, and in the specific area that is similar to your research area. Okay, I think that is my answer.
Yeah, thanks. So the last question is, what we need to do if our paper is not accepted within 6 months?
Okay, this is something subjective. Okay, so if you can find out the policy of the journals in terms of the duration of decision making, that is better for you. For example, if if there is a policy saying that if there is no answer, there is no feedback within 6 months, then it is considered rejected. Okay. Then if there is such a policy, then you can send it to other journals. But if there is no such policy, I would advise you to try to contact the chief editor or the managing editor. Okay, but I know sometimes it's difficult. It's easier said than done. So it depends on you. If you think that you don't want to wait any longer, you need to inform the managing director. Let's say you don't want to wait any longer. You want to publish in another journals. You need to write or inform the managing director you are extracting your article from the journals. Okay, you want to pull out the article from the first journal. Okay, because you want to send it to another journals. Okay, I hope I have answered your question.
Yeah, your answer is so detailed and precise and concise. So now this one for my own questions. Okay, my own question is how we are going to ensure the current targeted journals and publisher are not listed as predatory.
This is a difficult question, I think. But what I can say is that you can contact Mohi, for example. You can contact Mohi, I think, I think they come up with a list of predator journals
Predatory.
or blacklisted journals.
Yeah. And publisher as well.
And the list changes, I think, every year. I think you can contact Mohi or check their websites for this predatory journal. But be careful. Be careful. You know, they are very creative and innovative. So maybe you can ask. Maybe you can consult your colleagues and friends who have published or you know in this journal, or you know just discuss with experts in the area of your field of study, or you know someone who has experience in you know sending articles to the journals. Okay, but I think the first step is to look for the list of blacklisted journals by Mohi.
Yeah. Dr. Anhad, do you have any comment on these matters?
Yeah, to do you how? Basically, as because this Zachariah, first thing that we need to see is to check the list of those blacklisted
Mm-hmm.
either by the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, or by the university. But again, sometimes the journal is not blacklisted, but once you publish,
Okay.
after a few years, then it become blacklisted or predatory, and it's happened that. So my way of getting out of this
Mm-hmm.
cycle is that I try always to publish in journals that they are part in a good database. For example, Springer, Emerald, Sage. There are so many also journals. For example, if you have an article that you think that it does not have the criteria or requirement of Q1,
Mm-hmm.
because you know when we write a paper, actually we know it is going for Q1, Q2, or only for Scopus.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can even still submit the paper to a journal which is not even indexed in Scopus, but it is
Mm-hmm.
in a good database like Sage, like Emerald, like Springer. There are. So
Mm-hmm.
those databases, they don't really play with the quality because I don't think that I have come to a journal that is blacklisted or predatory within that database up to my knowledge. So choosing the database of the journal is very important. I mean that, for example, not only about that, for example, if you publish in a reputable, or maybe in a journal that is published by a reputable university, then you are sure that the journal should not be a blacklisted or predatory because that university has a reputation and they would not allow that to happen. But the thing is that what those predatory and blacklisted journals, what they do is that you find them that the publisher does not have, I mean, a reputation first, and they will send an email very frequently to whatever authors that he published. I used to receive every day those emails based on your publication. We would like this, and those journals actually they look for money.
Mm-hmm.
Most importantly, that if a journal asking you to publish and it has a fee for that, then you have to be very, very cautious about that. Most probably, this journal looks only for money, and at the end,
Yeah.
you will end up blacklisted. As I say, those journals that they just send emails and asking you to publish and pay fees, try to avoid them. That's what I can say. So make sure that you go to journals that are what we say published by a reputable university or a reputable publisher or database like, as I say, Sage, Emerald. That really, really save a lot of your time and make you, I mean, secure in terms of publication. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks for your both sharing, complete and concise. Okay. Before we end the talk webinar, I would like to make some concluding remarks. Generally, the process of preparing the manuscript for publication in the high impact journals is not easy and time consuming. based on the speaker's informative sharings, we need to fulfill two important criteria for publication in high impact journals. Okay, the first is the publication in the reputable journals require a clear, precise, and concise writing with the well-informed arguments, scientific evidence, and quotation and citations. In order to obtain a broad readership, the scholars or researcher must also ensure the content of their manuscript is readability and understandable. The second one is the high impact journals also seek to improve the communication of the new ideas. More importantly, we must ensure that our papers can meet journals' aims and scope. We also must avoid the same topic with the many published articles in the targeted journals. Before the submissions to the targeted journal, we need to check our manuscript in terms of completeness, suitability, and plagiarisms. I believe that if you carry out this initial checking on your paper will have a chance to be reviewed, accepted, and published in the high impact journals. Toward to the end of the webinar, I hope that the participants, especially for those young researchers or scholars, can gain some useful insight from both speakers. I wish that all of you can success in your research publication in the reputable journals. Okay, for reminder, the participant, you need to sign up and you need to sign up. Okay, before we end the talks. Okay, now I would like to express my gratitude to the two speakers and all participants for their sharing, attention, and listening. Bye-bye. Please stay healthy and stay safe.
Okay.